Yo, what's up? Welcome inside the opening line. Corey and Benny coming at you on a wonderful Wednesday, counting closer and closer to kickoff. Talking some fantasy football with you. We get our MLB best bets in, all the good stuff that goes along with that. Shout out to the Goon Squad members starting to come out in full force now. I see you in the comment section every day, so shout out to the whole crew. What's the deal with you, Benny?
Not much. It was a little bit of an up and down night for me last night. The sports betting side of it did not work out very well. I had the Red Sox over. They did not put up a good game. They wound up losing last night. I think it was 6-2. Was on Milwaukee. Milwaukee won. Was heavy on Minnesota. Minnesota did not win. Jose Berrios, excuse me. Jose Berrios gave up like 10 runs last night. He got lit up. Yeah, what happened?
The Braves knocked him out.
Yeah, the Braves killed them last night, and they did what I was hoping they were going to do. I mean, they put up 7 runs of their own on the other side of that game, but I mean, it's tough to win a game when you give up, 10 runs. Yeah, 12 was the final, actually. Yeah, I went to bed after it was like 11-6, I think. I was like, forget this. And then, it is what it is. So that didn't work out well. But the good thing is I had a very good night in daily. I swept all my cash games, so made up for all the losses with all the cash games last night. Went with a pairing of who's pitching for the Mets. I had Wheeler, and Wheeler just dominated Miami. And then shout out to DC for his call on Verhagen last night.
Really?
A guy, like min-price pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, but he was going up against the Chicago White Sox, whose offense is pretty dreadful right now. So he was like $5K on DraftKings. I wound up using him as my SP2, even in cash, in order to fit the bats I wanted in, which turned out to be what won it for me. Because I had my man Nelson Cruz, who's got a big piece of chicken coming his way at the end of the show.
Shout out to Nelson Cruz. He's been a recipient of a big piece of chicken before. He comes through, you know what I'm saying? So what do we got? So that's about it. Myself hanging and banging for the most part, you know what I'm saying? Getting ready for the upcoming season. Did the podcast for the fantasyguru.com draft guide last night. Well, yesterday we did the fantasy football elite. Me and Tyler Beaker did. That's the free one. You can head on over there to fantasyguru.com right now and check that one out. That one is not a part of the draft guide. I was telling Benny earlier, today we got to do one that's a part of the draft guide, Zero RB Theory. So I'm trying to sign up for a draft so I can use the Zero RB Theory so we can have something to talk about. And Zero RB Theory, Benny, number one, you can't do it if you get a top 4 pick. Number two, It's kind of something that you really don't hear about as much as you did 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, basically what happened, and a lot of it comes down to the scoring that is going on and the changes that happen in scoring. A couple years ago, it moved from like standard scoring being the thing that you saw a lot of industry leagues and a lot of like the big, overall championship kind of leagues. They moved from a standard scoring over to a PPR, a full PPR. So with the full PPR, that gives a lot more oomph to a lot of those running backs and kind of gives you a lot more oomph to some of those pass-catching guys that you could get when you go zero RB, when you're looking like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th round for running backs. With a lot of the leagues now coming more back into the half PPR, kind of splitting the difference between standard and full PPR.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of that. You really are.
The wide receivers, they're more valuable than they are in standard, but they don't have the big oomph that they used to have when we were playing full PPR as a lot of like the main leagues out there. So I think that has a lot to do with why you're seeing people do it a little bit less, because the whole point of it was that you're taking advantage of things like, people drafting running backs early, so you're able to get a bunch of stud wide receivers at the top. And you also had bigger upside for a lot of those, pass-catching backs, the Austin Ecklers, the, Tariq Cohens, the guys like that in the mid-range. When the full PPR, those guys are worth a lot more points, so it's a lot easier to get a good RB2 or a good flex option in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round.
Let me ask you this, Benny. If you had a top 4 pick and you said, you know what, I don't care, I got a top 4 pick, I'm still going zero RB, where would you want to do it from in the top 4? And who would be the player that you would most likely say, okay, I'm passing up on these big running backs and my first person is going to be?
For me, it would be Julio Jones. I have him as the number 1 running back. Yeah, so I would go Julio if I was going to do it. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you.
I'll say Travis Kelce.
Oh, well, again, I mean, if you're going to go with you're actually right. I would probably go Travis Kelce because I think you can build I think if you're not gonna take one of the 4 running backs, Travis Kelce is probably that guy. I thought you meant if I was going like heavy with the wide receivers or something like that.
Well, I guess you could take a wide receiver or a tight end. I don't think you're going to take a quarterback in the first 4 picks.
No, I mean I'm not taking a quarterback in the first 4 rounds anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make a difference to me. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go with a 0 RB theory, I do actually think the best way to do it this year is starting with the Travis Kelce team.
Okay.
And the reason for that is if you look. Our man, shout out to our boy Joe Pisapia. Joe Pisapia does his thing every year in the Black Book where he talks about relative position value, right?
Yeah.
And it's a pretty simple concept to understand is that, which position are there certain guys that just stand out that if they're on your team, they give you the biggest advantage. The advantage this year, if you think that Zach Ertz is going to get less than he did last year, like most people are talking about.
Yep.
The advantage between Travis Kelce, maybe you can make a case for Kittle, but then everybody else below them is so far behind them that the biggest position advantage you can get is by drafting a guy like Travis Kelce first. That's not saying that Travis Kelce is going to outscore Saquon Barkley or Julio or Hopkins or Odell Beckham or Christian McCaffrey. But the guy that you can get, if you don't get that superstar at every other position, is not as big a drop-off from the guy at the top as the guy you get at tight end if you don't wind up with Travis Kelce. So if you are going to go with the 0 RB theory, it makes sense to go with Travis Kelce because what you're really doing is giving yourself an advantage at the tight end position where throughout the course of the season you should end up with more points than anybody else at that position most weeks.
All right, cool. I get it, and I can dig it. Shout out to my man Joe Pisapia. Joe P, I seen Joe P on Friday night. We was at the Flex, you know what I'm saying? Mm. I was fooling around, fucking around with him a little bit, you know what I mean? Because Joe put on a couple pounds, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, he must be selling a lot of them Black Books, Joe. You know what I'm saying? He's good over that joint.
you know what it is? He used to do a lot of the stage fighting. I don't know if he's doing the stage fighting as much anymore. So he's not out there stabbing people with fake swords every day. That'll do it for you.
No doubt about it. So shout out to my man Joe P, the Fantasy Football Black Book. Interesting. Before we get back to the 0 RB, let me ask you this, Benny. If you could let's say you got that top 3 tier at tight end, right?
Right.
If you can say that, can you identify a tight end that's most likely to jump into that group?
Into the top 3?
Yeah. If there was any tight end on the board that you say, you know what, I could see this guy finishing in the top 3 that's not named Kittle, Ertz, or Kelce, who would it be?
I mean, I think Ingram is the easy answer with the way that things are falling apart for the Giants. But I'm going to go with the dark horse here, the 20-1 shot, Jordan Reed.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, again, you got a young quarterback. Tight ends are usually something that a young quarterback uses as a security blanket. Jordan Reed is healthy. I don't think anybody ever argues that Jordan Reed has talent. The problem with Jordan Reed is always staying healthy. If Jordan Reed can manage to stay healthy for a full season, Jordan Reed's always a tight end 1. Most of the time he's going to end up as a top 5 tight end. So if you get one of those guys hurt, Jordan Reed could sneak in there. I'll give you the other one that's a long shot too, Corey, and a guy that I'm looking to grab late in drafts, and that's Dallas Goedert. Because if Zach Ertz goes down,
he's got a hell of a workload.
He's going to step into basically the Zach Ertz production from last year, where he could wind up with 100 catches. So that's a guy you can get in round 10 that at the end of the year could end up as a tight end 3 or a tight end 2. He could be the next guy right behind those 2 guys. God forbid Ertz gets hurt. And you can't say that about the backup tight ends on Kansas City or San Francisco if, one of those guys goes down.
I don't even know who their names are. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you.
Yep.
I do know one of their names. Anyway, it's not important. For me, the guy would be O.J. Howard. I think O.J. Howard in the Bruce Arians system, you know what I'm saying? They're already saying O.J. Howard is not – they've already said, like, O.J. Howard don't look like a tight end on the field. He looks like a big-ass wide receiver. So I think Arians and Arians, who doesn't really feature the tight end in offenses in the past, and I think he's had talented guys. Like, I thought Jermaine Gresham was a talented guy. People say, you're a fool, but whatever. But yeah.
The Bengals thought he was talented, too. They used a high draft pick on him back in the day.
There you go. So, anyway, I would say that guy is O.J. Howard, but I agree with you on Dallas Goedert, and I think Jordan Reed has a nice chance also. I wish you can place a bet on something like this.
What, like over certain number of fantasy points or something?
Exactly. Fantasy points, Zach Ertz versus Jordan Reed. You know what I'm saying? And Jordan Reed is like +2. Well, Jordan Reed
He'd be like plus 800-900 at least. Yeah, I think you'd get a big number on that.
So I'm quite sure somebody will develop something where you can bet like that in the future. I think something like that would be pretty interesting. But you said Travis Kelce. I would agree. For me, it'd be Travis Kelce. It would be Odell Beckham followed by Travis Kelce. Guys like Julio Jones and stuff like that. And then I think you start putting it together after that. The thing about it is what you want to identify, Benny, when you're going 0 RB is who are those backs that you're going to get in rounds 4, 5, and beyond that you think can be the guys that can help you win a league. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I mean, let's talk about that right now because I did a couple drafts yesterday over on, draft.com, the best ball championships and stuff like that. So when you're into the 4th round right there, the pickings are pretty slim at that point in time. I mean, you're probably looking at guys like maybe a Mark Ingram. You assume like Derrick Henry's probably off the board at that point. You're looking at, like, honestly, it's not that great, the guys that you're there. I mean, the 5th round, if you wait till the 5th round, the 5th round has been like a Tevin Coleman, an Austin Eckler maybe. People that are going for – what's the guy for Kenyon Drake? Like, those are the names that are available at that point in time. So if you're waiting to the 5th round and going, normally when you go 0 RB, you grab like your tight end and at least 3 wide receivers before you even grab a running back. That 5th round spot, I mean, you're going to wind up with the best case scenario of like, Tevin Coleman, Austin Eckler, Darius Geis. Those are the guys that are winding up in that range right now.
I don't have no shot at guys like Freeman and Henry.
Freeman and Henry will be gone. Those are because they're going like pick 35, pick 40. So I mean, worst case scenario, those guys are going on the turn at the beginning of the 4th round.
Okay. What about a Mark Ingram?
Mark Ingram is the guy who could drop. Mark Ingram has been going right around that 4 or 5 turn. So depending on how people are going with, which running backs they're taking and all that stuff, that's probably around the area where you're going to start looking at those guys and everybody below.
Because I'm looking at this parent right here. Listen, they're not the top guys. They need certain things to work out in their favor, right?
But that's the idea of the 0 RB theory.
Exactly.
That's the whole point is that, you're trying to hit home runs with the running backs by having the best tight end and wide receiver group. And if you hit the home runs, then your team is just ridiculous.
So you're looking at James White.
Yep, he'd be a guy in that range.
They'll all be running back, and I like Jimmy White. I'm a Jimmy White supporter. He in the PPR, he's going to flirt with being the top 12 back if he gives you a healthy season all year. He's so familiar and consistent in that offense. He's going to get a lot of targets. You know what I'm saying?
And this is why I was saying before about like the half PPR versus the full PPR. In a full PPR, James White is a legit back there.
Jimmy,
in a half PPR, you're taking a hit by using them because you're not getting as much of the upside out of those pass catches. Those pass catching backs like a James White, Tariq Cohen, Austin Eckler when he's not, in line to be the starter if Melvin Gordon doesn't play, those guys are a lot more valuable in a PPR and you can get away with it a lot easier. So
in a half-point PPR, would you rather have Sony White or James White? I mean, Sony Michel or James White?
I'd still rather have James White because I don't trust Sony Michel. To stay healthy, especially if I'm doing a 0 RB. The guys that I take, I need.
They got to hit.
Yeah, you can't miss.
Or you threw that money away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you're waiting till 5th round to grab an RB and you miss, you're screwed.
Situation in Denver: Phil Lindsay, Theo Riddick, Royce Freeman.
So Phil Lindsay,
if you're doing 0 RB, those could be. It's a good chance you can have one of those dudes on your team.
Phil Lindsay is a guy that's going right around that 5th round. He's actually dropping a little bit in the ADP. He was a guy that was always – literally yesterday I might have done 4 or 5 drafts while I was watching baseball. I just had the drafts on, was watching baseball, doing the draft.com. He was the guy that fell below his ADP in every one of those drafts. So, his ADP is around 45, 48, where he should be a top 4-round pick. He was available in the 5th round of every one of those drafts I did today. So, if you're a big Philip Lindsay fan, I mean, again, I was a supporter of him. This Theo Riddick thing, though, definitely hurts his upside, in my opinion, because one of the reasons I was supporting him is I figured he would keep getting some of that passing down work that he saw last year. Adding Riddick in there and taking that away, basically, if he's not the goal line back right now, I don't think Phillip Lindsay's going to be a bust this year if he's not the goal line back.
Wow, interesting. David Montgomery could fall in that, the rookie running back for the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
I think he has an opportunity too. Benny, I'm not the biggest Mitch Trubisky guy. I think this team needs to lean on the run a little bit more. But what do you think of Montgomery as a possible RB1, RB2 if you have a team with Travis Kelce, Antonio Brown, T.Y., and yada, yada, yada?
Yeah, I mean, this is the range that you're looking in, and this is the kind of guy that could wind up being the home run hitter for you, right? I mean, if he ends up being – the thing that scares me a little bit is that they're still talking about Mike Davis as having a role.
Yeah.
If you give the Jordan Howard role, though, to David Montgomery, and they're already talking about Tariq Cohen not getting as much passing down work out of the backfield because they're going to use him a little bit in the slot as well.
He's a playmaker. He's in this zero RB conversation too, but he's so inconsistent, and not as a play. As a fantasy asset, Cohen's inconsistent because you don't know when that game is coming. But I'm sorry, what was you saying?
Well, no, it plays into the point that I was about to say is with these two guys, it's going to come down to game flow, just like it did with Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. In a game where the Bears are up by 2 touchdowns, it's going to be pretty heavy Montgomery. In a game where the Bears are down 2 touchdowns and they're throwing the ball, you got to think the playmaker Cohen's going to be out on the field a little bit more. So both of those guys are guys that I like a lot more in a best ball type strategy because I don't have to pick which week is going to be the week where they go out to a big lead or which week is the week that they're playing from behind. That's the only problem I have with David Montgomery. In this range, the guy that I have the most faith in and the one who I've been hoping to get has been Mark Ingram because at least Ingram, is going to play. If they're down, he's probably their best pass catcher out of the backfield. If they're winning, he's the guy that's going to be getting the carries anyway.
Jesus. I'm shocked the thought is even coming to my head. But another zero RB running back that could make some noise, more than likely not because they stink, is Lamar Miller. So, Lamar, oh God, Benny, go ahead. I'm not doing it, Benny.
No, I wouldn't either, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to be honest with you. The idea of the zero RB theory is it's a high risk, high reward kind of theory that you're using. I would never use a zero RB theory in like a 12-man home league.
Okay, would you put up say you got $1,200 NFFC? Would you go zero RB?
Yes, and the reason for it is because there's a big overall.
Okay, if you
the idea of the zero.
Overall,
the idea of the zero RB theory is you're playing for the overall. So what you're doing early is taking the stud tight end and taking the stud wide receivers. So you have the best tight end in the league or one of the best tight ends in the league and one of the best 3-man groupings of wide receivers on a consistent basis on your lineup.
Okay.
What you need to do is hit the home runs. What you need is to grab the James Conner of last year, the Phillip Lindsay of last year. You need to grab like Carlos Hyde and hope Damian Williams' leg breaks in week 2, which I know would kill a lot of your teams. But I'm saying, like, that's the kind of thing that pays off a zero RB theory when you hit a home run on a running back late in there because now you got the top tight end, the top 3 wide receivers or 3 of the top 10, 15 wide receivers, and now you also have a top running back that's in there that you were able to get later on in the draft. Lamar Miller will be that 7 to 12 point a week guy for you. But if you're going zero RB and you're trying to do it to win an overall championship, which is the point of the high-risk, high-reward strategy, Lamar Miller is not the kind of guy you want on your roster.
No, I agree because Lamar Miller he's not going to break out. Like Lamar Miller is just going to be steady Eddie. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Also in this range, Austin Eckler. Obviously, you know what you could do with that. Miles Sanders, a guy we talked about playing a long game with for the Philadelphia Eagles. Right quick, though, Benny, if you're doing zero RB, much like the Patriots situation with Michelle and White, let's look at the situation in Seattle. Would you rather have Carson or Rashad Penny?
I would rather have Carson. I think Carson is the better of them, and Carson is also going in that range. He's been going around pick 50, so he's somebody you could get at that round 5 turn as your RB1 if you really wanted to go that route. He's somebody that is available around that time.
Also in that conversation, you want to do the zero RB thing. Damian Harris, you know what I'm saying, is a young man they're talking up with the Patriots. He can get some goal line work. Can also get some work if Michelle is banged up. Naheem Hines, is somebody that you can get a little PPR appeal from. Yep. And you have another battle between Jerick McKinnon and Kevin Coleman. McKinnon off the pup list. He's starting to practice now. So those are two guys right there. Obviously, I much rather Coleman. I think Benny agrees with me on that. Jalen Samuels, you can get lucky at the spot with Pittsburgh, with Connor getting the injury, maybe being a timeshare like that. Another interesting name, Benny, that nobody's talking about this year. Dion Lewis.
That is an interesting name nobody's talking about. And that's a guy that would be a good guy to have on a team when you're going with the zero RB theory as well, because that's a guy that if Derrick Henry gets hurt, or even if just the game flows of Tennessee, which a lot of us think Tennessee is going to be playing from behind, which is really the game flow that kind of favors Lewis more than it favors, Derrick Henry. He really disappointed. A lot of people were incredibly high on him last year, and he really disappointed. So he's a guy that no one's talking about because he burned them all last year. But, situation may be a little different. Injury situation may work out differently. I definitely think he's somebody that's worthy of at least looking at in the later rounds. He's going to be at least a little bit involved. And then, like I said, if an injury or something happens, there's a chance he steps into a very big role.
Oh, man. No doubt. That's and you nailed it. Fantasy owners are romantic. You do them dirty, they forget about you. I just see where Robert Quinn broke his hand and is headed back to Dallas to have surgery.
That ain't good. I was wondering what you just read because your face kind of watching your face on the live stream, your face just kind of dropped. So I was like, oh, that can't be good.
It's also a Jet report up here too. Yeah, no, it's not gonna be one that you're gonna be happy about. At least from the headline, Jets preseason plan for Le'Veon Bell up in the air. Okay. I thought it said
I care less about that. I don't want him to play at all in the preseason. That's not by me.
Jets season plan for Le'Veon Bell up in the air. That would have been heartbreaking right there.
I actually got my first share of him last night in the 125. So my heart would have dropped because that would have just been pissing $125 down the drain right there.
Let me ask you this, Benny. Talking about zero RB theory and different ways to rock it and stuff like that. Let's say you start Travis Kelce, you come back in the second, you take Mike Evans, you come back on that 2-3, you come back in the third, you take Adam Thielen, right? So you got Kelce, Mike Evans, Adam Thielen. You come back in the fourth, and you're looking at Pat Mahomes.
Now, see, the thing with the zero RB theory is the idea is to get the super advantage at other positions.
Okay.
Like, that's why I was talking about like a Travis Kelce or maybe a Kittle in the second round being a guy you take to give you that big advantage over the rest of the field. Mahomes, I think we all agree, is the one quarterback that stands out above the rest of the field.
And Kelce's a tight end.
Yeah, so I don't think it's crazy to go that route. I really don't think it's crazy to go that route if you're going with the zero RB. Because, again, the idea of the zero RB is you're trying to hit home runs on running backs later in the draft, knowing that a lot of starters get hurt, and sometimes you can pick up a guy in round 7, 8, or 9 that turns out to be a starting running back and a 15, 20 carry a game guy. But in order for it to work, again, you're doing it high risk, high reward to win an overall. If you have Mahomes and Kelce, you arguably have the best tight end and the best quarterback. And then if you're drafting heavy wide receiver early, so you have one of the better wide receiver groups, that's kind of the way you build a high upside team. So I don't think that's a crazy thing to do. It does get a lot tougher though, because then it's one extra round you got to wait on running back, and that's
well, not necessarily. I say then you still go to running back in the fifth, right? You
okay.
That wide receiver slot, that wide receiver 3 open. So basically, you're choosing between a group of say Pat Mahomes, Chris Godwin, Kenny Galladay, Tyler Lockett, Tyler Boyd.
In that case, as much as I like Tyler Boyd, and that would probably be the way I go, in that case, the biggest advantage you're giving yourself over the other options is by going with a guy like Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly. So you would rather have Mahomes as your QB than, let's say, Galladay as your WR3.
Yes. Well, first off, in that place, Boyd would be my WR3. That would
Okay,
be my pick.
you would draft Galladay. You would draft Boyd over Galladay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That,
I actually, honestly,
agree with you on that.
I like Marvin Jones on Detroit, and I also like Danny Amendola as like a last round pick.
Okay.
And it's not that I don't like Galladay. It's just, to me, Galladay and Jones, Galladay is slightly better, but Galladay's going in the 4th round and Marvin Jones is going in the 8th round. Yeah, so when you talk about the value you're getting on those guys, and then honestly, from all the reports we're hearing, that Danny Amendola is looking good as a slot receiver there, and Danny Amendola is going like ADP 220.
Yeah, because Danny Amendola is going to get hurt.
But still, before he gets hurt, he could be a big guy.
I agree with you.
In round 18 to round 20, again, I don't want to take a risk on Antonio Brown in round 3 with the foot problem. I'll take a risk on Danny Amendola in round 20, though. In round 20, there's not a lot of risk. You're not losing a lot if he winds up getting hurt after having a good game or two.
Do you think he really has a foot problem?
So here's what I heard, and again, this is like, not like something that's coming from major sources, but he does that cryogenic therapy thing, where you basically sit in an egg and they like blast cold air and cold, mist at you. And he didn't have shoes on. Like, you're supposed to wear shoes when you go in there. And supposedly this whole thing is because he basically got frostbite in his toe from a cryogenic chamber or something like that. Yeah. So I got to be honest, I don't know how that affects somebody. I don't know enough about it. But that just sounds like the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But it
sounds like it's something that Antonio Brown playing with a new toy would do. You know what I'm saying?
That's the story that's going around.
I love Antonio Brown, but he need to get his ass in camp. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So shout out to my man AB. Some other guys, Justice Hill is a good candidate for zero RB theory. What do you think of Chris Thompson this year? Nobody's talking about him.
Man, listen,
he's good reason, right?
I think that he's kind of on the downside of his career with all the injuries here. I don't think there's a path for him to be the lead back with Geis and Peterson both healthy. He's a PPR guy. So in a full PPR, I like him a little bit, but the problem you're going to have is the same thing is, if they ever do get into a game, which won't be many, but if Washington's ever in a game where they're playing with the lead or they're winning, you're probably not going to get much out of them because they're going to go with the other two guys and handing the ball off. So I think he's going to be a very volatile guy. I think he's best for a best ball, and I don't think I like him as much as I have in years past.
Yep. There you go. FantasyGuru.com Draft Guide 2019. We go more in depth with all these topics right here. FantasyGuru.com Draft Guide for 2019. Don't forget, also saw where subscribers this year also get a special treat. You get a weekly exclusive podcast from the big homie, the guru, John Hanson. And don't forget, Elite Fantasy on the DFS side. You see how these cats is already winning money and knocking it down over there. So make sure you sign up for that too. Early bird discounts going on right now. Elite Fantasy Sports got it covered. Right quick before we get to some baseball, Benny, comeback player of the year odds.
Okay.
What do you think about this?
Let me hear them. Let me hear the odds.
All right. Plus 400. Jimmy Garoppolo, also at plus 400. Le'Veon Bell.
I think Bell is the guy who could have a monster season. Like, I like Jimmy G. I think he'll be good, but in order to win the Comeback Player of the Year award, you need to be great. And I don't think he's going to be great. I would rather have Le'Veon Bell at plus 400.
Carson Wentz at plus 600.
I'm not a Carson Wentz guy. So
I'm not either, but everybody in Pennsylvania is telling me that this kid's going to win the MVP this year.
Yeah, okay, well, whatever. Those same people also said that the 76ers were going to win the championship last year. How'd that work?
Pennsylvania. Okay, so right now you still go Lev Bell at the plus 400.
That's my favorite one so far.
Devontae Freeman at plus 1,000.
That's a good bet.
You like that one?
That's a good bet because there's no Tevin Coleman there anymore. When you saw him without Tevin Coleman or when you saw Tevin Coleman without him a couple of years ago, these guys were winning people like millions of dollars in DFS with these 20-plus touch games where they were putting up 25, 30 fantasy points, multiple touchdowns, catching passes, rushing for over 100 yards. And the other thing, Corey, is I don't think Ito Smith's good.
Ito Smith stinks, bro.
Yeah, I really don't think he's good. So if he's going to be the
They
guy
might cut him, Benny.
either way, that's even better for Devonta Freeman then, because that means they're just going to have to lean on him heavier. I mean, who are they going to keep? The kid Brian Hill, who
Maybe it's the kid Brian Hill. Brian Hill like he's better than Ito Smith.
well, that's what I'm saying. Is he did in a small sample. I don't want to get
Obviously,
much, but
they're going to be watching that in the preseason. I'm quite sure in the running back room right now, they're telling those dudes not named Devontae Freeman, y'all better get your ass together. If not, somebody going to be out of here.
Yep. Well, listen, that's the thing is that I never thought Ito Smith was good, and everybody was talking him up as, oh, he's going to have a big season because he's going to take the Tevin Coleman role. I think what's going to happen to the Tevin Coleman role is Devonta Freeman's going to take as much of it as he can handle, and all these other guys are going to be fighting for the scraps.
Cooper Kupp comes in at plus 1,200.
Love Cooper Kupp, but he's not going to be the comeback player of the year because he would have to put up just a monster year, and there's way too many other weapons in that offense for him to put up a monster year.
Earl Thomas comes in at plus 1,400. Here's a couple of interesting ones, Benny. Marcus Mariota at plus 1,500 and Cam Newton at plus 1,600. Now, is Cam Newton really a comeback guy?
I don't really think so, but
Exactly.
if I'm looking at those two guys, I'd rather have Cam than Mariota.
No doubt. I think Mariota could lose his job this year, to be honest with you. Darius Geis at plus 1,600. He's got a ways to go to get ahead, to get himself healthy, to get ahead of AP, and then to figure out how they're going to run without Trent Williams in that lineup and with my man Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, or Dwayne Haskins at quarterback.
See, my biggest problem is Geis already isn't healthy. So
Yep.
you got a guy who is coming off an injury that's already not healthy going into the season. Like, I try to stay away from guys that have injuries in the preseason because that stuff's going to linger throughout the entire year. So I have zero faith in him. I'm not even touching it.
I can dig it. Travis Frederick, the offensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys, is plus 1,800. You're not going to see an old lineman win that award. David Johnson at plus 2,000.
That's an interesting one. That's worth a little bit of money on there because, again, if this offense is anything like what a lot of us think it's going to look like with the run and gun and running a lot of plays and getting a lot of stuff up there. I mean, people forget, but 2 years ago, he was argued about as one of the best backs in the league, was a guy that everybody was playing in DFS on a weekly basis. I mean, I don't think I made a lineup for about a 10-week stretch 2 years ago that didn't include him or Le'Veon Bell as one of my running backs because between the PPR stuff and the running, they were just putting up ridiculous numbers.
They were getting it done. Hunter Henry and Antonio Brown are both plus 2,600. Antonio Brown is great, but he can't win it because he had a great year last year. Hunter Henry at plus 2,600, though. Hard to see a tight end winning this award, Benny, but Henry is at plus 2,600. Jason Witten is also at plus 2,600.
No chance. And again, I know you're a Cowboys guy. I don't want to
play enough.
No chance in hell Witten gets it.
Yeah, he's not going to play enough.
Hunter Henry is worth a couple shekels. You know, you throw a $10 bet on that because if he has the Eric Ebron year from last year, he could win that award. But he's going to need a big – I don't think he's going to get 100 catches. He's not going to do what Kelsey or Ertz or, Kittle did last year. But if he has the Eric Ebron, like 10 touchdown kind of year, he could wind up getting that award. So I don't think that's a crazy bet at 2,600.
Here's a deep shot. Here's a couple deep shots right here, Benny, and they both also come at the tight end position. And I find both of these to be interesting. Jordan Reed at plus 6,500 and Tyler Eifert at plus 8,000.
For that kind of money, yeah. I mean, but again, am I going to put a significant amount of money on either one of them? No.
If I was to put a significant amount of money on any one of these, it would be Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman.
Yeah. Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman, and then the biggest long shot bet that I would take a chance on would be the Hunter Henry one.
All right, there you go right there. Elite Wins on Twitter is the site on Twitter where you can follow our experts on the sports betting side. Also, EliteSportsBetting.com is where you get in there and get these winners, get these picks. The guys are rolling through baseball season, getting ready for college football and the NFL, and the NBA will be here before you know it too. We'll be betting on stuff every single night yet again. Speaking of betting on stuff every single night, Benny, what do we got for the night?
Well, you know what? It's actually more for today, Corey. A lot of the
baseball. A whole bunch of day baseball today.
Yeah, there's 14 games today. The Mets play at 12. And then there's an 8-game slate on the DFS sites that starts at all the games between 1 and 4 o'clock. So the night slate tonight is only like 5 games. So I didn't even look at the night slate. I had to write up the early slate because that's the main one for DFS. Couple interesting things I really like here, though. I love the Astros at over 5.5. The Astros over 5.5 is -105. The Astros' projected team total for this game is basically 6. It's 5.93 at the moment. A very good matchup against a really crappy pitcher for the Colorado Rockies. It's in Houston, which is not as great as Colorado, but still a very good hitter's park. And then you just look at this lineup from top to bottom with everybody healthy now. I mean, Springer, Altuve, Brantley, Correa, Yordan Alvarez. Like, this lineup, even the guys at the bottom, like your bottom 3 hitters are like your Lesky Gurriel, Robinson Chirinos, who's one of the better hitting catchers, and then Josh Reddick or something like that. So this lineup is just absolutely amazing. So 5.5 runs being at -105, basically even money, that's really, really good. Hey, can you hold on a second? I got my kid here wanting something from me.
No about it. What's up? Get in there, Ethan.
Ethan, say hi to Corey.
What's up, Ethan?
All right, so the other one I really like, the Braves and the Twins. The over in the Braves and the Twins game is 10.5. Here, hold on a sec. He just got out of the bathroom. I got to put his pants back on for him.
No doubt. Getting it done. You see what we do? You know what I'm saying? This is why Benny is a Father of the Year candidate.
In the room. I'll be right there. Yeah, so anyway, the other game I like a lot today is the Braves and the Twins. I just think both sides of this game, these are 2 teams that hit left-handed pitching really well. The Twins are second in the league against lefties, and you got guys like, Polanco and, Nelson Cruz, who's been absolutely unbelievable lately, Miguel Sano, who's been hitting really well. And then even the Braves on the other side. The Braves have like 7 guys on their team that have a 115 WRC plus or better. Acuna, Riley, Donaldson, Albies, Camargo, even Adam Duvall, who they just picked up, Tyler Flowers, not even including Freddie Freeman in lefty-on-lefty spots. So both of these teams absolutely crush left-handed pitching. It's a 10.5 over in this game. I would not doubt if it goes up. Neither one of these pitchers really suck that are going up against them, but neither one of them are very good either. So I do think we're going to get a lot of runs. I don't know who wins, so I don't want to go over on the Twins or over on the Braves. I think they're both going to score a bunch of runs, so I think the best way to play it,
you don't want to parlay it,
is just go over on the entire game. Just go over the entire game because it could end 7-4, it could end 6-5, it could end 12-8. But one way or another, we're going to see a lot of offense come out of that. So Braves Twins overs I like, but my biggest bet of the day was Astros over 5.5 at -105. That's either too low of a number of runs or way too low of a payout for it because that's going to be way too good.
There you go right there. Oh, that's my main man, Benny, putting it down. And then you can get these picks and the rest of the staff over at EliteSportsBetting.com. Matter of fact, they got promos going on over there for that right now also. So the whole thing, we got you covered all the way through. All right, Benny, time to get out a big piece of chicken. You've already said it's going to Nelson Cruz, huh?
Yo, last night again, I mean, listen, first off, in his last 20 at-bats, the guy has 6 home runs. He's been absolutely crushing over the last 2 weeks. He's got 2 3-home-run games. And last night he had 4 hits and another 2 home runs last night. The guy is just absolutely amazing. And the thing is, he's always crushed lefties. He's always been above average against righties. This year, it doesn't matter. He's in another stratosphere against lefties, and he's crushing righties the way he normally crushed lefties. He doesn't have a weakness. There's not a pitch you can use to get him out. And right now, he's about as locked in as I've ever seen any hitter because he's not only hitting the ball every time he gets up there, but he's hitting it hard. Like I said, 6 homers in your last 20 at-bats. That's ridiculous. So
his home run prop, Benny, he's 135.
That's insane. 195 is insane, and that's the lowest we've seen all season.
Yep.
135 is just.
It reminds me of Draymond Green's triple-double prop in the playoffs, how he kept getting lower and lower and lower.
Yeah, right now Nelson Cruz is as locked in as I've seen any hitter in my entire life watching baseball. So Nelson Cruz, big piece of chicken. Keep it up, buddy, because he keeps winning me money too.
You winning Benny money, so I'm going to give you a big piece of chicken also. I didn't lay it down on nothing last night. I was just running around here trying to get some stuff done. So that's right. But don't forget, we got some more good stuff coming up today, fantasyguru.com. And don't forget, boys are getting the season kicked off over at fantasyelite.com also. So for my main man, Benny, is Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. We are out.